let's start with Elon Musk, because we hear in the midst of all this. Let me just say this: Elon Musk's business empire is built on $38 billion in government funding. That is the latest Washington Post headline. I'm sure it's verifiable or checkable. So what do you make of this personality, unelected and with very little oversight, making the demands he's doing and actually even being the star of this cabinet meeting?
Well, thank you, Christiane. There are a lot of concerns from a constitutional perspective, from a rule of law perspective, as I think you hinted at in the introduction there. First, several weeks into this administration, DOGE has a starring role, but it's still unclear exactly what it's doing, under whose direction, and under what legal authority. If it is just a project to ferret out waste, fraud, and abuse, to modernize payment systems, which is sometimes how the administration talks about it, I think most Americans can get behind that. But the problem with DOGE is it seems to purport, according to Musk and the president, to be up to a much bigger project about restructuring the government, eliminating agencies, feeding them into the wood chipper, as Elon Musk has said. And if that is what it's doing, it runs into significant constitutional problems, at least two big ones. First, in our country, Congress makes the laws. Congress creates agencies and eliminates agencies. And while somebody like me, a limited government conservative, might like the idea of reducing the size of government, that role properly belongs to Congress. Secondly, if DOGE is wielding all this authority delegated from the president, it ought to be run by a nominated official who is confirmed with the advice and the consent of the Senate. Both kind of Congress's lawmaking power, its power of the purse, and the Senate's power over appointments and confirmations are key checks in our system to protect our democracy and the legitimacy and the accountability of our government. And those things are under significant pressure now. And so conservatives, even those who are excited about reducing the size and scope of government, ought to be concerned, ought to be asking hard questions, challenging some of what DOGE is doing, both in the courts and in Congress. Congress needs to reclaim its role here, and Congress should conduct meaningful oversight.
And I don't know whether you're noticing in how you evaluate what appears to be a pushback in certain Republican districts, like Congresspeople Going Home have had, in some instances, an earful, Republicans, from their constituents, complaining about all sorts of DOGE activities. I mean, including, the demand for most sensitive government data, personal data, business records, payments, social security information. And apparently 21 employees of DOGE have resigned this week, saying that actions include, quote, mishandling sensitive data and breaking critical systems. Where in all the experience you've had, on the legal side and everything, watching this, where do you think this is headed?
It's hard to know, honestly, Christiane. There's so many open questions right now. But I do think if the president is attempting to really remake government through this largely unaccountable effort, there will increasingly be pushback. The kinds of pressure you hear being applied to some Republican congressmen now will have an effect. You're hearing a bit more on the Hill from Republicans who want answers about what DOGE is doing and want some accountability and want to play a role in this, want Congress to reclaim its rightful place. So I hope we get there. I think that Americans should want that. And again, I think it's really important for Americans to demand accountability from their government and to demand it operates within the proper constitutional framework, even if they like the direction that the president is trying to go in. We all benefit from a government system and from a political leadership that is held accountable and follows the rule of law and the Constitution.
So let's just use that framework in the rest of this conversation then. So the president, apparently Article 2 of your Constitution requires a president to, quote, take care that laws be faithfully executed. This President Trump, though, recently posted something that's often attributed to Napoleon Bonaparte. He said, he who saves his country does not violate any law. Okay, so where does that go? And what parameters are there to make sure that he faithfully executes the laws of the country?
No, it was, some people like to laugh off when the president makes comments like this and say it's just trolling, meant to have fun, maybe meant to distract from other scandals. No, I think it's important. It's important and concerning. The president has all of our presidents have since Washington, an obligation to steward the public trust, to protect our rights, our liberties, ultimately our law and our Constitution. The president is a creature of the Constitution, created under law. He is not a king. He is not above the law, no matter what the circumstances are. We need to expect that. You know, to my Republican friends who are frustrated by some of these lawsuits or norms and institutions that are restraining what the president is trying to accomplish, you know, I say to them, you may have deep trust in the judgment of this president, but he's not going to be in charge forever, nor will his allies be. Power goes back and forth in our country, and it's important to have a structure that constrains our leaders.